Good evening, Zambia. My name is Anthony Mukwita. I'm your host on your favorite program, Zambia Goes to the Polls, which comes on Millennium TV, Topstar TV, every Monday evening at 20 hours. I have a very interesting guest tonight. I think you are going to love the show. But before I introduce him, I would like us to play this song by one of the most astute professionals in Zambia's, social commentary. And this is Professor P.K. Chishala. The song is entitled Common Man. Stay tuned to this. The song. Without much ado, I know you've been waiting in anticipation and a bated breath. I have in the studio today with me Honorable Brian Mundubile. Honorable Brian Mundubile is the president of the Tonse Alliance. This is not my show. It is his show. It is your show as Zambians. So I just want him to tell us a little bit about what the Tonse Alliance is in a nutshell without giving you death by bullet point. And I want him to tell you just briefly whom he is, where he's coming from, and where he is going before we get into the program. Here is the man himself. The man they are saying is the man of the moment. I don't understand why they are saying this, but some are saying that, others are not. Honorable Mundubile, please tell us a little bit of what party you are standing for, if it is a party or what the alliance is. Tell us a little bit about yourself also, just so that people know where you were born, where you went to school, and where you are here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Ambassador Mkwita.
Well, you can call me Tony. That's fine.
That's right. A good evening, Zambia. Yes, Zambians will be interested to know that I am the president for the Tonse PF Pamosi Alliance. This is an alliance that gives hope to the Zambian people. And Ambassador Mkwita, hope in this particular case, H stands for hard work, O stands for open government, and P for a people-centered government, and E for economic transformation. So the Tonse PF Pamosi Alliance is giving hope to the Zambian people. Now, under the Tonse PF Pamosi Alliance is a special purpose vehicle called the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. That's complete in itself. And the Zambian people know that this name is deliberate because we are in a country that is divided. We are in a country where the citizens are stressed, and therefore we need reconciliation. We need unity. And above all, we need prosperity. So that is about the Tonse Tonse Alliance and indeed the NRPUP.
That's great.
As a special purpose vehicle.
That's great. Now, Honorable Mundubile, when Zambians on August 13 go to vote, when they get into the booth, the ballot booth, before they strike the ballot papers, they will be looking for signs. What sign will they find presidential aspirant Brian Mundubile on? Is it going to be a plow? Is it going to be a bottle of water? Is it going to be a cow? What? Because people have optic messaging. They need to know that.
Yes, our symbol is a lamp to signify light at the end of the tunnel. When you're in the dark, Anthony, and you see some light at the end.
At the end, yes.
You actually have hope. And that's exactly what our symbol means. Zambians need not worry anymore. There is hope in the horizon. The NRPUP, under the Tonse Tonse Alliance, under President Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu as Vice President, are providing that hope to the Zambian people.
That's great. Can you just say your full name again for the audience out there that have been biting their tongues every time they try to say it? It is something people are going to get used to.
Brian Mundubile.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think viewers, you have heard that, both within here, Zambia, and beyond. Let me move a step further now, since we know what party you are standing on, or what vehicle you are using, and what symbol you have. Many Zambians are anxious. Poverty levels at the moment are pretty high. Civil servants especially are most affected and most afflicted by the scourge called poverty. They are stuck in the poverty rut. Do you have any special message out there for the civil servants in Zambia?
Yes, Ambassador. Our civil servants play a pivotal role in the development of this country, in the eradication of poverty, and indeed driving government policy. So they are key stakeholders in whatever we do. So any well-meaning government would like to ensure that they have a motivated civil service. When you look at the civil service today, or civil servants today, we have what you now call the working poor. Okay, and we start from there. Our civil servants, hope is near. Hope is in the horizon. We look at the civil servants and realize they are going through a number of challenges. We have said under the Tonse Tonse Alliance that we are not only looking at changing government, but would like to change how government works. That's our commitment. So policy reform alone is not enough. We need state reform in this particular regard. And the clear message that we have for the civil servants is that, one, you will be working under a professional environment because we will professionalize the civil service. We will also depoliticize the civil service. That's how we're going to change how government works. And for your comfort, dear civil servants, the recruitments will be based on merit. We'll embark on the merit-based recruitment, as it were. So civil servants should be very comfortable with the initial steps that we're taking towards improving the civil service. Secondly, when we zero in and look at a civil servant. A civil servant today is one that is drowning under debt. They're highly indebted. They are indebted, one, because government owes them money. And as a result of that, to make ends meet, they've had to go out and borrow. So clearly, we are looking at a working poor civil servant who is under debt. So as a responsible government that would like to have a motivated civil service, we will implement debt swap so that government liquidates whatever obligations they have for the civil servant, and at the same time take up the obligations these civil servants may have had contracted outside their work environment, as it were. So the debt swap will be implemented. Number two, there are a number of civil servants, especially the teachers. I was looking at the statistics. There are 50,000 teachers who've been waiting for an upgrade. Tony, these are people that could have entered the teaching service as certificate holders. Some of them are degree holders today. Some of them have master's degrees, and some of them PhDs.
PhDs, yes.
They're still being paid at the entry scale. So that backlog of 50,000 teachers will have to be addressed. The same may be the case with many other officers within the civil service.
Yes.
These are soft solutions. They won't take much. Yeah, because civil servants deserve to be upgraded. They've worked very hard to improve themselves.
Indeed.
They're providing a service at a different level, at a different scale. They should be compensated as such. So we'll implement that.
Amazing.
The other challenges you look at today with the civil servants, look at accommodation for the civil servants, especially those that are working in rural areas. Yeah, so this is one of the major issues that we'd like to address for the civil servants, the issues of housing, including housing allowance. An average house befitting a civil servant would cost between 4,000 and 5,000 kwacha. Most civil servants are getting 1,000 kwacha, and the senior civil servants are getting 2,000. So they are having to subsidize to just be able to have some decent housing, as it were. And secondly, those that are retiring, the civil servants that are retiring, have realized that there is need for reform of their pension schemes, pension plans. The information we're getting from the civil servants is that they would prefer a lump sum payment and then decide what to do with these lump sum payments. So there will be some policy reforms in that area so that NAPSA is able to pay lump sum payments to the civil servants on retirement. And lastly, maybe not the least, would be the flexibility to change between pension schemes. The civil servants would like to be given that flexibility and not be locked down to one pension scheme. They should be able to exercise their freedom, their
to maneuver around.
To maneuver around.
Yes.
Yeah. So to our civil servants, we have a very clear message for you, as I've summarized it. But remember that the first thing to do will be not only to change government, but to change how government works. You've done so much in terms of education. Most of you possess very decent academic qualifications, but the environment you're working in is not professional. So we are guaranteeing a professional civil service. We are guaranteeing a merit-based recruitment approach. We are guaranteeing a depoliticized civil service. And I believe that many civil servants will be very happy with the NRPUP government.
That sounds interesting, President Mundubile. There is just one thing I picked out of your statement here on the civil servants, and that is, in my view, it appears quite sad that they earn between 1,500 and 2,000 kwacha per month. The reason I say this is the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection that collects data on how much a family of 5 in Zambia, in Lusaka, needs to survive on, says they need at least 12,000 kwacha for basics alone, for a liter of cooking oil, for a 25 kg bag of maize, for a packet of carpenter, and for a packet of beans and sugar. So how are Zambian civil servants surviving, given the disparity that you have given from 2,000 kwacha to 12,000 kwacha, as the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection says, Mr. President Mundubile?
Well, that explains why civil servants are in debt. Remember, these are people who would want to put their children through good schools so they acquire decent education, to be able to pay rent 2 times or 3 times more than what they get as housing allowance, and send their children to school. They have had to go out and borrow, and sometimes at exorbitant rates. They've had to acquire expensive loans just to get along. And so it becomes very difficult, Ambassador, to get the best from these civil servants. They come into work stressed. They spend most of the time looking for money. And even when government comes up with good policies, if the officers who are supposed to implement these good policies are not in a proper state of mind, they are unable to properly implement these policies.
Amazing. Now, you mentioned something in your hope message, and you stressed what H stands for, O, P, and E stands for. One of the things that Zambia is known for around the world globally is that it's Africa's number 2 largest producer of copper, and it also has now what they call rare earth minerals. I was just wondering, as president of the Alliance, if you look straight into the camera, what are you going to tell Zambians? How you are going to turn mining into something that can turn around the lives of Zambians?
Yes, to the Zambians, I'm saying Zambia is one of the world's largest, biggest copper producers. When you look at Chingola, Chingola sits on one of the world's biggest copper deposit. So with that, for instance, I take you back to 2022.
Indeed.
The copper exports alone were about $6.6 billion out of this country. But around that time, you'd still find a woman in Chiwempala market who was surviving on 100 kwacha per week from her market sales. Yeah, and yet, right beneath her is among the world's largest copper deposits. Yeah, so these are things that we needed to look at critically. When you look around the challenges with copper mining, mainly governments have not been able to create enough employment in the mining sector. Why? Because mainly we've been exporting raw copper. As Tonse, as NRPUP, we are going to create mines and mineral value chains, meaning that as opposed to promoting export of raw materials, we will promote value addition. Only then can we provide employment. We export raw copper and import finished products. So we are actually providing employment in other countries that are processing the same raw material that we got. So working together with the investors who promote that smelters and other equipment and machinery involved in value addition should be set up on the copper belt to provide employment for our people. So primary employment is created in mainstream mining, but that's not enough. Yeah, that's the reason why we have so many unemployed youths on the copper belt, because we're exporting copper ore, we're exporting copper cathodes and so on. So as Tonse, PF Tonse Alliance and NRPUP, we want to promote value chains in the mining sector, as it were. We've also looked at some of the challenges within the sector to do with small-scale mining. The small-scale miners have had a number of challenges. some of the challenges they have, they go through processes and acquire licenses, small-scale mining licenses. And later, big mining houses appear in the same area. And they obtain injunctions against these small-scale miners. And their court battles that are endless. In the end, the small-scale miners are frustrated and they lose out. They give in and just abandon that. We will introduce fast-track tribunals to deal with such disputes. Because many a time, it's the small-scale miners that are losing out. So when we're talking about small-scale miners, we're not necessarily talking about illegal miners or the ones that are scavenging from the dumps. There are small-scale miners who go through the processes, get licenses, and they are later displaced by the big mining houses. So the solution to that, like I said, will be to set up fast-track tribunals that will be able to resolve these matters quickly so that those that have licenses, those that are supposed to be in those particular areas can go on with the mining. When we go down to the ones that the Jerabos, I've
heard that from the Copper Belt, yes.
Those are Zambians, they need to be assisted.
And illegal miners.
Yeah, so our solutions to that particular sector, we will formalize that sector. We'll formalize that sector, we'll also provide a safe environment through which they can mine, because there will be a formal sector. They will be licensed to mine, government to look at their safety, government to look at their off-takers, government to also educate them in a number of aspects involved in mining. So those are some of the soft solutions that we have. But we'll go further. We'll also ensure that those are supporting mining activities, like contractors and suppliers, have got some guaranteed business. This is an agenda we've been pursuing for the past 2 years, and when we come in government, we'll ensure that we back it up with legislation that will compel mining houses to guarantee some business to local companies, you know, so that they are not sidelined, you know, they are not sidestepped. There is supposed to be beneficiation through that area. Now, the interesting part, once that is done, Tony, because we're talking about big business, there's going to be a lot of initiative and innovation within the Copper Belt. Many of my friends who are mine suppliers and contractors are very industrious. I've known them for over 20 years. They've been running businesses. They'll be able to set up manufacturing plants, maybe to manufacture nuts and bolts, okay, and many other engineering parts that are required in the mining. That, again, will provide employment, you know, to the youth. Remember, as Tonse, we are looking at one of our major targets in trying to fight poverty and vulnerability will be to create employment through industrialization. So these are some of the initiatives that we will take up.
That sounds interesting, Honorable Mundubile, Mr. President. But some people say that politicians normally they talk a big game, but then really nothing comes out. I haven't heard you say whether there is a specific number, a ballpark figure of jobs that you think the alliance is going to create in the mining sector. And I also haven't heard you mention the fact that recently the government had clashes with Zambians who they called illegal miners. And in fact, the army commander threatened to exterminate them, which raised quite an uproar. What are you doing specifically for these people that are called illegal miners? Are you going to train them? Are you going to employ them? How many people do you think your government is going to employ in the sector?
Yes, we did a study. If we pick out Chingola alone, those small-scale miners, the ones that have been scavenging through the dumps, once the sector is formalized, just within Chingola, there'll be up to 3,000 jobs.
Up to 3,000 jobs?
Just in Chingola, before we extend to other areas.
That's quite a huge number.
Yes. So in formalizing this particular sector, remember, most of these will be coming in as cooperatives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to show seriousness, in every district, we'll set up an office that will be in charge of these small-scale miners, assisting cooperatives all the way, holding them by their hand and walking them through. Because as government, we will provide training. We'll put these youths in every district in incubators, okay, and give them some soft training on environmental protection, on safe mining, financial management, among others. So that's a commitment that we make. And our manifesto is the social contract between us and the Zambian people. It's a social contract between ourselves and the small-scale miners. So we commit to set up in each district within the Copper Belt, there will be an office that will be purely in charge of these small-scale miners. And remember, within our manifesto, we promised to create a ministry of industrialization. Yeah, so it's all connected.
That's great. You know, when you talk about that, it reminds me of one of the issues that you have raised as one of the biggest campaign issues in your manifestos. You've always been mentioning a Zambian woman called Vana Mutinta Pamakasa Nemisepela. Please just explain to Zambians what that means.
Well, Nakulumutinta Pamakasa Nemisepela represents the poor Zambians. Okay, we are looking at the most vulnerable member of the community, and this is Nakulumutinta Pamakasa Nemisepela. So the circumstances surrounding Nakulumutinta will describe an average Zambian today. So that is why in our manifesto we are saying we are looking at women and the youths to be in the majority within this population. Even when you look at the voter registration, you would find that the majority voters will be women and the youths. And we start from there. Of course, the manifesto came earlier than the registration results. So we've been focused on women and youths. We are moving them from the margins to the center of policy and economic transformation, making youths the drivers of this economic transformation. Yeah, so the many policies that will come up with will be centered around this poor Zambian. Yeah, so that is the meaning of Nakulumutinta. So Nakulumutinta should be a beneficiary from the policies in the mining sector. When we're giving out incentives, what are we getting in return? Is Nakulumutinta included
in that policy?
In that particular policy.
Okay.
So Nakulumutinta is no longer in the margins. It's actually at the center of policy and economic transformation.
While we are at that, I recall that you have also put on your fulcrum, left, right, and center, the importance of the youth, whom you have already rightly attributed to being more than 50% of the population of Zambia. In fact, some statistics say this number might rise and double by 2030, the youth factor. How important is the youth issue to you? There has also been reported high unemployment youth levels. How important is this in your hope situation?
Yes, when you look at the plight of the youth today, it's actually an emergency. We are treating it as an emergency that needs urgent attention. And it's for that reason that we'll place the Ministry of Youth under State House for a limited period, so that programs to do with the youths should be quickly implemented. Yes, so you are talking about, for instance, the youths in mining, just like we've been discussing. So there will be quick implementation of the programs that I've just spelled out, including the setting up of district offices to support small-scale miners. There will be quick implementation of the formalization of the small-scale mining. There will be quick implementation of the programs to do with local content, where the local supplier, who is a youth, is guaranteed business by the mining companies. We'll be looking at youths in farming, for instance, youths in tourism, youths in creative arts, youths in the digital economy. So that's the reason why, realizing that this is an emergency, realizing that this is urgent, it will be placed under the president for quick implementation, speedy implementation of these policies?
I heard once, I don't know, you can clarify this, that you actually take this youth issue so important that you want to move it to State House when you become president, if the Zambian people decide that they have voted for Brian Montaigne or Mundubile.
Yes, this is exactly what I've just been saying. Those are the reasons why I want to place it under State House. Because it's an emergency.
Indeed. Okay. Do you have any targeted numbers? What I mean by this is, will Lubinda Mukwita, who finishes university next year, be getting out of university with his gown and getting a job? Will Mundubile, the nephew of the president, then will he be getting a job also when he finishes university? Is there any hope that you can give to these kids that have been saying that there used to be a Zambian dream, but now it appears that all it is just a dream and not a reality? What's your comment on that?
Well, first of all, like I said earlier, we'll embark on a merit-based recruitment program within the civil service. So there will be no such a thing as some privileged databases. Jobs will be advertised openly. There will be transparency. Remember, in our HOPE agenda, O stands for open government. And P stands for a people-centered government. Yeah, so when we talk about opportunities will be for all. We intend to create not less than 300,000 jobs in the agriculture sector.
Just in the agriculture sector alone, you are targeting at least 300,000 jobs. Do we have a period of time that you hope to do this? And how are you going to do it? What's the magic word?
Of course, it will be gradual, but by year 3, most of the farming blocks that will be central to our policy in agriculture would have been fully
How many farming blocks do we have, Mr. President?
We have about 12. And we know that within 3 years, they'll be fully fledged. And by being fully fledged, we mean that there will be value addition within the farming block. We'll not only be doing agriculture, but we are industrializing these farming blocks. So it's job creation through industrialization. Whether you're talking about agriculture, whether you're talking about the tourism value chains, whether you're talking about mining. In mining, there will be more, but I gave an example of small-scale miners. For instance, in one district alone, you're talking about 3,000 jobs. We expect more jobs to be created as these value chains are created. We'll give incentives to them, to the investors to create the value addition in within the copper belt, as it were, to produce wire, to produce components, be it batteries, as it were.
Bullets.
And this can be done. When you talk about creative arts, we are talking about within the first 2 years, create about 95,000 jobs. The same period in the digital economy, around between 95 and 100,000 jobs. Yeah, so we've done a study before coming up with the manifesto. We did a study to look at exactly what we're able to do for the Zambian people and exactly what we are committing ourselves to.
I was listening to the news recently, and there was some sort of a positive announcement being made that Zambia shall produce about 4 million metric tons of maize. I know that we need only about 1 million for both animal feed and for the population. But some school of thought argue that we could make more money, and that we have been a little bit too modest for a long time. Our ambitions have not been too high. We could do 10 million metric tons. Do you think under the Mundubile administration, there is a possibility that this 3 million, 4 million metric tons that Zambia has been harvesting annually since independence can go up if a small country like Ukraine can feed the world? What about a big country like Zambia, 750,000 square kilometers, 90% of the land arable, and like you said, 12 farming blocks? Should we continue doing or targeting or allulating leaders for 3.5 million metric tons annually, President?
Now, 10 million tons is possible. when you look at the farming blocks, for instance, alone, they should be able to do that number. You have an average of 100,000 hectares per farming block, in some cases more. And we know that if we continue with the same hectarage under cultivation, but we add 10 farming blocks at 100,000 hectares, will give you 1 million hectares plus. Okay? And a part of that is used to grow maize. You definitely can get to 10 million tons along the way. It may not be in the first and second year, but really by third and fourth year, you must be heading towards 7 million tons, as it were. Yeah, so that is one. Secondly, even for the Zambia National Service, I think that our men and women in uniform actually can also contribute towards the food reserve, as it were. We know they've got capabilities. So sometimes deploying them to go and disperse people in Kikonge mine, in Kanyelele, may not be the best way of employing our men and women in uniform, including correction service. So if what we want is food security, but also value addition in that particular sector for export, these are some of the policies that we're going to implement. We'll go further, Ambassador. Majority of the trucks that you find on the road are carrying maize. It's the same maize carried from one warehouse to another. You will hear of maize that left Mbala, came to Lusaka, later moved to Chipata, and sometimes it disappears into Malawi without anybody accounting for it. What we are going to do around Pulungu area, because you've got a port, you've got a harbor, we are going to invest in milling capabilities there so that the maize produced in Mbala, Mpulungu, Kasama area only moves a short distance into the milling plants. We then can easily export milling meal through to East Africa. The border, Malawi, Zambia, Chipata, that maize does not need to come here. We need to send milling meal. So in the areas where there's high production, we will immediately promote the investment in milling capabilities. The same will happen on the Copper Belt, around Chirilawombwe, around Mufulira. The people, our brothers and sisters in Congo, need milling meal, and most of it is coming from South Africa. So as opposed to shooting down youths who are trying to earn a living by smuggling 1 bag or 2 bags of milling meal, we will instead invest in milling capabilities around those borders. So if our consumption is around 2 million and our production goes beyond 5 million, there will really be no need to spend so much money in maintaining officers around the borders just to look out for who may be smuggling, as it were. Instead, we'll turn it into a job creation venture. We industrialize around that area. We industrialize within the agriculture sector in strategic areas so that we're able to export a finished product.
Interesting, Mr. President. I don't know, while we're still on the same agriculture issue, how do you feel about the fact that, we have one of the longest borders with one of our neighboring countries, such as Angola and Mozambique? But every year, Angola and Mozambique spends about $1 billion importing chickens from Brazil and Argentina, and yet we share a border. Is there any specific plan the Mundubile administration has mapped out in their kitchen cabinet on how they will ensure that Angola doesn't spend $1 billion from Brazil and Argentina, but spend that on Zambia?
Yes, the way we've planned to structure our government, we will have what we're calling a 10-ministry cluster system. Okay? We, of course, may have 30 ministries, but we'll have a 10-ministry cluster system. What that means is that we will cluster ministries so that there are synergies. If it's on infrastructure, you'll have roads, you'll have energy, and many others for purposes of development. Now, why this is important, coupled with the regional development authorities, we are going to have regional development authorities that will be looking at comparative advantages of provinces and then cluster them together so that you look at ways of optimizing investments in those particular areas. What am I talking about? Let's pick the Angolan border. Yeah, talking about Western Province.
Indeed.
Yeah, Western Province and maybe partly Southern and partly Northwestern. If you cluster those together and understand the markets that exist across the borders, Western Province, for instance, naturally comes in because of livestock.
Yeah.
Yeah, the livestock in Mongu and Western Province in general comes naturally because culturally the people in that area have got skills of keeping livestock. But how best can we industrialize around this particular advantage? Government will ensure that we grow the animal population in that area by providing and building new veterinary modern vet labs in that particular area, providing vet services in that area so that you have healthy animals, and also investing in modern abattoirs. So the business there will happen naturally because then we can easily export beef. And these are really low-hanging fruits. My brothers, my traditional cousins in Western Province know how to keep animals. They've done that for a very long time.
Yeah.
Government is simply going in with the latest technology and improved the breeds of animals to keep there for meat business, as it were. At the same time, on the side, government will provide empowerment programs for people to keep chickens, goats, and many other types of livestock within the area, because a market would have been identified, and skills are also available in the area. The environment as regards plains, where you have plenty of water and plenty grass in the area. So this is how we're very structured in the way we're going to approach development. Yeah, so you find we've been to Western Province, and the people there bemoaned the levels of underdevelopment.
Underdevelopment.
We assured them that under the
Western Province is quite poor.
Yes, we'll have a very structured approach to development there. Like I said, the Regional Development Authority in that area will start by looking at the comparative advantages of that particular area. And off the cuff, you identify livestock to be one of them. You know that there are programs like the cashew nut program, which was, I think, frustrated along the way.
Yes, yes.
We wish to revamp that. Remember, you keep remembering, ours is to fight poverty through job creation, and job creation through industrialization. So even when we are talking about livestock, we quickly run to value addition. We quickly look at industrialization, the abattoirs, the vet labs, as it were, and of course export right across the border.
That's interesting. Is there? Do you have a specific message for the farmers before we move into another area? We have spoken about civil servants. We have spoken about the men and women in uniform. We have spoken now about farmers. Do you have any special message for the farmers that are beset with concerns of high fertilizer prices and late payments? What is the BM8 message to the Zambian, if you look straight into that camera there, to the farmers? They've been anxious because we read reports at the beginning of the year, or rather at the end of the year, that some of them had not been paid until quite late. There was so much discontentment.
Yes, Ambassador. When you're talking about farmers, there's need to enlarge the discussion with farmers.
Please do.
The farmers out there, many farmers complain that when people talk about farmers, they're only focused on maize farmers. But as NRPUP, we are not only focused on maize farmers. We are looking at cotton farmers. We are looking at tobacco farmers, maize farmers, soya beans farmers, then ordinary beans farmers. and many other crops that are grown commercially. So our support starts by understanding. When you go to most of the parts of Eastern Province, you find cotton farmers. You also find tobacco farmers who have been neglected by government. So our support will not only be to the maize farmers, whom we have promised to increase the quantum of support. We've come to realize that the FISI program has faced challenges year on year because we are unable to win off farmers because of the quantum of support that is given. At 6 bags or 8 bags, and you intend to win off a farmer after 3 years, when you go to do an assessment, you realize they're exactly in the same position they were in before the program started. And then you later discover that if you increase the quantum of support, say to 20 bags, 3 years later, you can win off farmers and enroll a new set of farmers on the list, because those farmers would have migrated to the intermediate level in terms of agriculture. There has to be some upward mobility of these farmers towards becoming commercial farmers. But many a time they've remained subsistence farmers on life support from FISIP. So there is need for government to take practical steps. It's good for government, it's also good for the farmer. That's as regards the maize farmers, as it were. The tobacco farmers, many a time, are getting a raw deal because they're not getting any form of support from government. So government, my government, will position itself as an aggregator for most of these products within the agriculture sector to guarantee a fair price. Tony, it should not be a gamble for farmers to grow, whether it's tobacco, whether it's cotton, whether it's maize, groundnuts, and beans, only to discover that prices have slumped, and then they lose out and they're out of business. A government goes in, government to play a big brother role, because government is able to pick these crops at a reasonable price that will enable a farmer get a profit. Because government can hold. Government can hold until the prices improve. So most of the farmers have been in and out of business. I'm aware of the farmers in Eastern Province. There was a time I think government promised to get market for them from China, and they went out of their way and grew a lot of soybeans. The government did not come in, and many of them lost out. That is not expected under my government. We'll ensure that we cushion the farmer. We set prices. We open up. When the prices are too low, government moves in. The government can buy and hold and only offload when the prices are right. That's the only help we'd have given to the farmers. If the maize farmers are getting some assistance, what about the tobacco farmers? What about the soybeans farmers? Okay, what about the sugar bean farmers and so on and so forth? So we will ensure that we give some support to these farmers so that they can grow year on year.
While we are there, I've seen now you have touched on the issue of the tobacco farmers, and that while you are very interested and everybody is happy that the government always wants to help and chip in when it comes to maize because it's a staple food. If my memory serves me right, while I was still in the foreign service, and I have known you as a brother and a colleague for more than 25 years now, and I know your passion for the Western Province. That's because right. As a businessman, you were constantly there.
In Western Province?
Yes. Yeah, no, yes. But that would be a story for another day. During your tenure, because I do believe you got into Parliament in 2016. In 2016, right. Up to today. There was a law that was passed to legalize the growing of marijuana, medical marijuana, so that it can be sold. It would also help create jobs. Do you have any thoughts on that today, as you had some thoughts on tobacco and maize and chickens, poultry and beef?
Yes, we always joke with President Peter Sinkamba. we call him legalize.
You call him legalize.
Yeah. He pushed this agenda.
Yes.
And I think we managed to pass the law.
President Sinkamba, I hope you are legalizing.
we managed to pass the law, yes. That would govern the handling of this medicinal marijuana. And it was estimated that this alone would also earn, millions of kwacha to this government in taxes, and of course create employment. That's one of the areas that we'll look at, to of course look at what is in the law, and also understand why there's been hesitation by other governments to implement. And if at all we can deal with those fears, we can deal with those apprehensions. That's one area we can also look at.
That's interesting.
The options remain very open. Remember, we would like to create employment through industrialization. So if we establish that through medicinal marijuana, we will be able to grow this particular crop and also value add for export. It's one of the things that we'd quickly look at.
Okay. Now, I know you come from a very rich natural resource province called the Northern Lower Polar Province. I have been there. Actually, I went to school at the beginning there at Mutende Primary. My late father was a provincial resident tutor for the University of Zambia adult education. So I can speak some Hausa with you. I'm getting this because you were once Northern Province Minister. You sat in cabinet. There is a huge potential, I understand, for agriculture there. What are the plans of the alliance? Is there any way that you can make it much bigger than it is now? And probably much countries such as South Africa and Zimbabwe, and probably rob business from them, apart from the Northern Lower Polar Province. Just kindly tell the Zambian viewers out there what plans you have for the tourism sector, because I know it's one of your passions.
Yes, Tony. Zambia has a lot of potential in tourism. What many people know today, they only know about Livingstone and the Victoria Falls.
The Victoria Falls, yes. And the Devil's Pool.
Yes, so we call that the Southern Circuit.
Yeah.
When you come down to Eastern Province, you find that there's a lot of potential, especially with the national parks. Okay? And when you come up into Northern Province, you have a lot of potential with waterfalls. In Porokoso alone, I think has over seven waterfalls. There could be close to 20 waterfalls within Northern Province. Get into Luapula. So all these are natural assets, natural tourism assets that have not yet been exploited for the benefit of the Zambian people. Our promise, Tony, don't forget, is job creation through industrialization.
Indeed.
As a tool to fight poverty. So to add to what has happened to Livingstone and Southern Province, where the tourism is highly developed, we intend to develop the Northern Circuit, starting with Kasaba Bay. Basically, as government to provide the backbone infrastructure, starting with an airport infrastructure at Kasaba Bay, then the road from Kasaba Bay into Nsumbu into Porokoso. We'll move into Mbala to look at many areas that were connected to the end of World War I. Remember, we did a commemoration of 100 years after the end of World
yes,
War
I remember you were front, and center on that issue personally as provincial minister. Tell us more about it.
So there's a lot of tourism that you can do in Mbala alone. You have graves of soldiers, fallen heroes from World War I. They're all there, labeled. You have Lake Chila, where the guns that were used in World War I were dumped by the German soldiers when they were defeated. Yeah, so you've got the museum where you can learn more about the end of World War I. So that circuit starts from Chambeshi as you are leaving Muchinga into Northern Province, because the last shot fired in World War I was actually fired at Chambeshi. So there's still an old cannon there, where people can go and see where the last shot World War I was fired from. And the soldiers moved for 11 days into Mbala, where they officially surrendered and dumped their arms into. So you've got the whole circuit in terms of the Northern Circuit. When you get into Luapula, they've got quite a lot to see. You go to Bangwe Ulu, you go to Mweruwan Tipa, where you're going to see the Black Lechwe. You are going to see many waterfalls, many rivers, as it were. So there's a lot that we intend to do, first of all, as government, to promote tourism. Like I've said, we need to provide airstrips in most of these strategic areas and provide a friendly environment for the private sector to invest in hotels. Government would have invested in communication, they would have invested in power, basically backbone infrastructure. We know that a number of jobs will be created from these interventions in those particular areas.
So you have decided to enter this rat race, this very serious roughshod race, to become the 8th president of the Republic of Zambia, a wonderful country that has been at peace since independence in 1964. But there is about 14 candidates on the card, even though people say eventually it's going to draw down to a 2-horse race. When you look at yourself, your abilities and your character, and we have to remember the fact that the incumbency always has a little bit of an advantage, because the incumbent president, say in this case, President Hakainde Hichilema, has the ability to maneuver around, even disguise as if he's working, but he's campaigning on the Challenger, on the helicopter, on the land cruisers at State House, which are at his disposal. Also, he can use the state media such as the Times of Zambia, the Zambia Daily Mail, and ZNBC to communicate his message a little bit more. How do you think this pans out if people had to say, I, Brian Muntayala Mundubile, standing against Hakainde Hichilema, if it became to a 2-horse race? Why should Zambians look at Brian Mundubile and make him president instead of President Hakainde Hichilema? I know this may sound personal, but it is not, because you are in a race. This is an argument, so there is for and against an argument. When you look straight there, what are you going to tell Zambians? That they should get you into office. You should be the administrator of all these natural resources. You should be the man that should reduce poverty, industrialize, and create jobs, much more than President Hakainde Sami Hichilema has done.
Firstly, I love Zambia and I love Zambians. I will run a government that is people-centered. We're talking about the Zambian people. So I'm focused on the Zambians to start with. As an alliance, as a party, we are moving the poor Zambians from the margins. They are no longer a by the way. They're actually at the center of policy and economic transformation, with the youths driving that particular agenda. This is the reason why Zambians should vote for Brian Muntayala Mundubile, because he loves Zambians and he has demonstrated through the Tonse manifesto that he will put Zambians at the center. And the Zambians we're talking about, we are starting with the poorest Zambian being placed at the center of policy and economic transformation. So when you ask that the president has access to helicopters and is moving around, that's just one side of the story. When you're finally landed in Wapula with a helicopter, you have to have a message. Okay? So every opportunity that I find, every opportunity that a Tonse leader finds, we are speaking to the civil servants like we are doing this evening. Mm-hmm. The civil servant today now knows that we think about their housing challenges. Mm-hmm. We think about their meager housing allowance. The civil servant today knows to say the moment NRPUP is voted into government, they will implement a debt swap. They now understand that we'll go back to the lump sum payment through NAPSA. The civil servant today should have hoped to know that we implement policies that will provide flexibility for them to shift between pension schemes. Yeah, so that's the message. The youths today know that as opposed to providing 27 million per year for creative arts, we are elevating creative arts into an economic sector. we are introducing a digital economy for the youth. The farmers today know that NRPUP is a government that will come in and look at farming as an economic sector that should provide employment to many through value chain creation. We're creating agro-processing zones in most of these areas. The farmers of tobacco know that government to intervene, they will be there as an aggregator so that they're not exploited. If the private sector is unable to pick tobacco at reasonable prices, government moves in as big brother and they'll hold. The same will apply for cotton, the same will apply for soybeans. The Industrial Development Corporation, being a government entity, will play a key role in providing strategic aggregators for various products that are coming from the Zambian people. So our key, Ambassador Mkwita, is that we'll have a Zambian at the center. We will protect the interests of a Zambian, as it were. So my message to the Zambian people is that the Tonse Alliance manifesto is a social contract between ourselves and you as the Zambian people. When we say you be at the center, you hold us to that, because we are saying it's you at the center of the policy and economic transformation. That's the reason why the Zambians should vote for Brian Mundubile as president.
That's what makes you different from President Hakainde Hichilema.
Exactly. We know that the current government has had very good policies but skewed towards foreign investors. That is the truth. Okay, the foreign investors, when you go out of the country, you find them praising this government in magazines, and they are all over about the beautiful policies. But is that the same with the Zambian people here? Do they think so? Are the people in Chiwempala saying that? Are the youths in Mufurila saying that? So when you have these stark differences where within the same sector, people are speaking a different language, if the policies were indeed working, they should work for the investor and also work for the Zambians that are out there. For the workers within the mining sector, are they singing the same good song as their bosses are? The answer is no. So we are saying to our miners that we will introduce sectoral minimum wages, so that regardless of which mine you're working for, as long as you're within the mining sector, you are guaranteed a certain minimum wage for that sector. So this will apply even to sectors outside mining. This is where we'll give hope to our younger drivers, taxi drivers, truck drivers, bus drivers, and many others, because we'll introduce sectoral minimum wages, such that as long as they're operating in this sector, a driver in this sector will get a certain minimum wage. So if you can't afford to pay a driver, a truck driver, a certain amount, just don't go into trucking. Government to protect the interests of bus drivers, the interests of taxi drivers, the interests of younger drivers. We've received a lot of complaints from all these people. So government's intervention will be through statutory instruments and legislation to protect the Zambians. Remember, Tony, ours is the Zambian not at the margins, but at the center of policy and economic transformation.
While we are still that, mining, despite the fact that you have spoken about industrialization and sometimes diversification, but mining still remains the biggest foreign currency earner for Zambia as Africa's second largest producer of copper. But international studies show that Zambia bleeds or loses about $1 billion annually, either because of tax holidays or simply because of not putting in place proper mechanisms to earn money for Zambia. And it goes begging, kicking the can down the road to the World Bank and the IMF, asking for the money for loans, expensive loans, while we could get money from the mining sector. What specific plans are you going to come up with? Some new mines? Are you going to increase shareholding into the existing ones? What does President Brian Mundubile do in the first 60 days, in the first 100 days, knowing that this is a cow that, if well fed, can really give milk to the Zambians? And are there concerns from the current administration when you look at their relationship with huge mining companies, most of them foreigners?
Yes, Tony, from the outset, I want to say that we have nothing against investors.
Indeed.
Investors are very important.
Indeed.
Because they bring in the foreign direct investments. We will promote investments. We'll promote investors. The only thing we insist on is, one, there should be a win-win situation between the investor and the Zambian, because the Zambian is at the center of this policy and economic transformation. So even as we negotiate incentives, there should be incentives to the mining houses, but to benefit Zambians. We must clearly see in plain sight that Zambians are going to benefit from these initiatives. Yes, so we have no intentions to disturb investments in the mining sector. Zambia still has a lot of potential for greenfields. We would want to also ensure that Zambia as a government runs some mines. Zambians also should own mines, as it were. There's a lot of potential, a lot of studies have been done.
But do we have money? I understand the investments run into billions. Do we have money, or does Brian Mundubile have a plan to raise money for Zambia to own its own mines the same way, you know, countries like Peru and others do have?
You know that we have a lot of skills to do with mining. Not 50, 60 years ago.
Please tell us about it.
We had our own mining engineers running some of these biggest mines. There are some obvious names that you remember. Most of them are old now, but those skills have been passed on. Some big mines outside Africa actually run by Zambian CEOs, as it were. So in terms of capacity, we have capacity. Those colleagues, Zambians, I'm speaking to them, those that are in the diaspora, in the mining sector, begin to prepare yourselves to come and run your own mines. Okay? They know where to source finance. They know how to run these mines. Okay, so the skill is there, the skill to mine, the skill to source finance. Nobody, even the investors that we have here, nobody really starts with billions of dollars, as it were. Okay, the capacity comes when they have got licenses. Yeah, so the starting point is a resource. Is there a resource? Yes, there is. The second is, all right, can we be deliberate? And they get groups of Zambians, whether you know they want to go in as limited companies or whatever form. They come together, and as consortia and whatever it is, they are given rights. We'll be very deliberate to give rights, mining licenses to these Zambians, and because they'll be sitting on very comfortable deposits, and they are backed by the skills that they have, they should be able to find partners to come into those mines. But also, we've got ZCCM-IH. We've got IDC that should be looking for greenfields now. As opposed to reducing the shareholding that they already have in these mines, they should be looking at running some mines 100%. And ZCCM-IH has got a balance sheet that can defend that sort of investment. Yes. So remember, it's job creation through industrialization. Yeah, so we're going to have to be very deliberate on setting up some of these mining activities for job creation, but also as a control. You need to run some control mines. You can't have all the mines running in your country in private hands. If they are having genuine challenges and you're mining alongside, you as government could equally see from the challenges that you're facing. Yeah, but if all the mines are in private hands, it really is very difficult to see. We promote the private sector, but there are certain strategic interventions that government can do, can invest in mines through its investment arm in mining, which is ZCCM-IH, and come up with some greenfield mines, as it were.
You know, time flies when you are having such a nice time, and President Mundubile, I'm having such a nice time talking to you because I'm learning a lot. I mean, you are more intelligent than I am, clearly. But I thought maybe I should divert you a little bit. The directors and the producers, Anthony and Rogers, are already telling me that we are running out of time. There is one question somebody said, since you are going to talk to Honorable Mundubile, and he's a businessman himself, The Zambia currently, under the current government and administration, has a huge domestic debt. It has ballooned. It's like about 200 billion or something like that. And most of it is because they have not owed local suppliers, road constructors, house constructors, and lots of people. And companies have been shut down. Do you have a message when you look right there? Do you have a message for those people that have been not paid by the government more than 4 years? They did build a house, they did build a road, they did build a bridge, but because they were seen to be maybe not politically friendly and their monies were taken away or rather frozen. What message do you have, and how do you think that stimulates the economy if you distribute these monies equitably? And where do you hope to get such colossal amounts of money when you are looking at that Zambian that constructed a 20-kilometer road, that Zambian that constructed a 5-10 meter bridge, that Zambian that sank a couple of boreholes? But because they were not seen to be wearing the right colors or the texture or the smell, their monies have not been paid. What message do you have as we come to the close? And I'm looking at it from what you call your hope.
Yes. Yes, Ambassador. You are talking about the local debt.
Indeed, the local debt.
So the starting point, we always go to the foundation.
Please.
Every government, including the UPND, had their own priorities. Who did they prioritize? They've been dismantling foreign debt. They've paid off most of the, whether the companies in Zambia, foreign companies that invested in Zambia. We saw how government dismantled VAT refunds very quickly. They're running in billions of dollars. Yeah, so it was a question of priority.
Indeed.
Money has always been there. It's a question of priority. Yeah, because if there was no money, how did government dismantle those VAT refunds owed to foreign companies? What was so difficult to move at the same speed to dismantle local debt? And the local debt, Anthony, before we even go and talk about in the road sector, in the infrastructure sector, there is an old woman out there, Nakulu Mutinta, Pamakasa named Sepela, who supplied beans to the army, who supplied carpenter to prisons, okay, who supplied rice to the police. They are still being owed money. And they were not paid. Why? Because the priority was not the Zambian. The priority was a foreign entity. The difference with Tonse Alliance is that Zambians are no longer at the margins. That's where that message goes.
Yeah.
They're no longer at the margins, but they're at the center of policy and economic transformation. So the difference is, when you ask me, Zambians will be prioritized in this particular case. Whether we're talking about dismantling of debt, we prioritize the Zambians. If you ask me where the money will come from, the money has been there. In case you didn't know, Ambassador Mukwita, the total budgets under the UPND after 4 years, it were about 900 billion. Including the 2026 one is actually over 1 trillion. You don't tell me that out of 1 trillion, you could not pay your own local suppliers. Okay, and is 200 is 200 is it 200 billion? What is it?
About 200 billion there. 250.
It was way below that.
Indeed.
Meaning there was enough money to dismantle the initial debt before they contracted. It was a question of priority. So there's been enough money with over 1 trillion kwacha in budgets, unprecedented. Okay, maybe you are suspicious that most of the money went towards CDF. CDF was only 20 billion. So there's still 900 billion plus that could have accommodated the local suppliers. But like I said, it's a question of priority.
Would you give a time frame, President Mundubile, like when President Mundubile is sworn in, within 60 days or within 100 days?
Within the first 1 year. Within the first 1 year.
You should be able to pay.
We should be able to dismantle.
Indeed.
This particular debt.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Like I said, similar actions have been undertaken. You know, under the
money was found
in billions, in billions of dollars.
Indeed.
Yeah. So the advantage with that is that one, you are not only giving relief to the locals, you're not only saving their property, because most of them have lost property through foreclosures, as it were, because they're unable to pay. And they are not able to pay because government is unable to pay. So we're making Zambians, even those that had managed to get out of the poverty bracket, we're pulling them down back there. So we're not doing it for fun or for political reasons. Okay, we're saving Zambians' lives, by paying them. They will go and industrialize. They will grow their businesses. They'll employ people. We are creating employment through industrialization. So any intervention that will result in industrialization, we're in a hurry to implement. So local suppliers needed to be treated fairly. They needed to be prioritized because they're Zambians. And mostly that money in Zambia is not cheap. Capital is very expensive in Zambia. They borrow expensively, and if you delay to pay them, they end up in big problems. Most of the people I know are in that bracket. They're in big problems. They've lost property. They've lost equipment, all because government decided not to pay them. And they did not pay them for whatever reason. But we are saying a hope is near. We'll be able to address these problems and get started all over again. Because ours under Tonse is to empower Zambians, to see to it that Zambians flourish. We will be deliberate in creating rich Zambians. In every sector, we'll run programs where we'll say 20 Zambians per sector should be turned into rich people. And we run programs, empowerment programs, giving them business, paying them on time, and running them right through until they emerge. Yeah.
So, guys, we understand you say that we should be winding up. As we go downstairs out of the studio this evening, I understand there is a huge crowd of people there because they heard that BM8 will be recording. I don't know how they heard about it, but because we run adverts. 2 women, 2 young people, 2 middle-aged people come to you when we go downstairs with only less than 80 days remaining before Zambia goes to the polls, as this program says. What are you going to tell them when you look them straight into the eye that you are the person that they must vote for? What are you going to tell them when we go downstairs as an ending note to the program, Honorable Mundubile?
Well, simple message. Vote for Brian Mundubile because he cares for you as a Zambian. He cares for you as Nakulumutinta Nemisepela Pamakasa. Brian Mundubile's government, it will be a government where every Zambian will count. So vote for Brian Mundubile.
That's amazing. Mr. President, I would like to say that I am most grateful, despite your busy schedule, with a few days remaining before Zambia goes to the polls. You responded to a new program called Zambia Goes to the Polls, where we are interviewing people whom we think are heavy hitters in this hunting season. So we are most grateful that you came for this. I mean, like I've said in the past, for those that don't know, that I have known you for many years myself, but then I wanted to understand a little bit of your politics and why Zambians should vote for you. Allow me the privilege and honor to say on behalf of Honorable Mundubile, Zambians within Zambia and beyond, we wish you a very good Monday evening, and we are hoping that you will be able to join us next week when we find another interesting and extraordinary candidate as Zambia goes to the polls. There's already 14 candidates that are on the cards, including President Hakainde Hichilema, who is seeking re-election, and including Honorable Mundubile, who says that he believes in his heart of hearts that he's going to be the next president of Zambia. But then who knows? I don't read tea leaves. We can only look and wait for August 13, 2016. From Millennium TV, my name is Anthony Mukwita, your host, and we are saying to you, good night and God bless you. I will allow my guest to say the same thing to you, because I think it would be a dishonor to let him run away from all his busy schedule without saying good night to you too.
Thank you, Zambia. I'd like to thank all the Zambians for their prayers. And I wish to undertake that we are only remaining with under 3 months before we go to the polls. August 13th, prepare your voter's card. Go and vote wisely. Vote for Brian Mundubile, the running mate Makebi Zulu, and the NRPUP Pelampi for hope. Remember, hard work, open government, a people-centered government, and economic transformation. I thank you.
Thank you, and good night, Zambia. God bless you.